Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Eastern Lariat podcast, your show for news, notes, reviews, and opinions on the world of Japanese pro wrestling here on cagematch.net. I'm your host, STRIGGA, as always, joined by my man Dylan. And we already talked this year, but I don't think that I wished you a Happy New Year yet. So Happy New Year, my friend.
Happy New Year to you, STRIGGA. Happy New Year to all the listeners out there. Did you do anything for the New Year?
Yeah, I was just having dinner with two friends. We were drinking some beers and stuff like that. Just nothing crazy, but just a good atmosphere at the end of the year.
I love it. I think that's a very common practice in the New Year's zone, especially in Japan, to drink a lot, for sure. But
didn't drink a lot.
Okay,
drank some.
Oh, okay. Well, I made a beef roast that day.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, so like we had a very nice New Year's dinner. We watched the musical note drop, which is famous up in Nashville, which is a city pretty close by to me, within a couple of hours, much closer to New York. So we went with the home state, and not the ball drop in Times Square and all that. We watched the music note drop instead for the Music City, of course, and it was a good time. Lots of wrestling happened. It was real. That's what my real New Year's resolution was, and lots of Eastern Lariat happened. We've had multiple shows over the past couple weeks, and this is kind of like, this is we're kind of at the end point of this kind of run we're on. Like I said, we're gonna build up to the awards next, but this is kind of the last of this particular run, and all of them went really well. Like all the shows that we did. So I was very happy with pretty much everything that we did over the course of the holidays, whether it was through the Christmas season or the New Year's run too. So from then on, it was time to watch a lot of things, which I did accomplish as well. Like, not just the beef roast, but the wrestling as well, and it all led to where we're at today.
Exactly. Yes. Very busy time of the year, of course, for Japanese pro wrestling. Bit bittersweet for me because this time last year I was still in Tokyo, was still around all these venues that others are or were around these past couple of days. So I was watching that, of course, closely. Everybody being Kurikan and the Tokyo Dome too. So hopefully everybody enjoyed their stay in Tokyo. And there is lots of wrestling that we could talk about, Dylan. But now, for today, there is just this one show that we are going to focus on, and for a good reason, obviously, because there is so much to get into here for Wrestle Kingdom 20 from the Tokyo Dome, a apparently sold-out Tokyo Dome with an official attendance of 46,913 people. That is their claim for the sold out venue, and it looked incredibly packed, and the walk up to the Tokyo Dome was crazy. In the early hours you could see people taking pictures from above and the entire masses of people streaming into the dome. It was definitely more than in years past that were in the building, and you could hear it from the crowd noises too, that the crowd was really, really into the action.
We've got a sellout doubter on our hands right now.
No, I'm not doubting it. I'm just saying that the number they were given out is not the number that is, or that other like concerts or stuff is giving when they are using the Tokyo Dome. So for their setup and for their capacity, it was a sellout.
Maybe other people have lied in the past as well.
Maybe too.
My point of reference is always that somebody's lying. So I'm not saying it's the New Japan. I'm not saying it's the others.
Someone is always lying.
Exactly. Even in any sport, any kind of fight sport, I would say nobody is that trustworthy. But I believe it. The crowd, like it's like not even in comparison to the last like multiple domes. Like I would say, like the way this has gone, and I think by the end, that was really the overriding feeling I had coming off of the show. Is that for the first time in a long time, this actually felt like a Wrestle Kingdom show in my mind. And I would say most of the years before, and that was a complaint I've had in like plenty of times in the past couple of years, is that more than anything, whether the show was good or whether the show was bad, I don't think they did anything close to enough to make them feel like their WrestleMania, so to speak. And this year actually did. So, like all things considered, I think you have to consider it an automatic success from that standpoint. And I do think the big crowd definitely helped that overall. I mean, in all honesty, this is pretty much the biggest show that's happened in the history of our show, like the Eastern Lariat. This is the biggest show that's happened in that time period, and one of the biggest that they've ever had, to be honest. And we will talk about how it went, but I will say that right away, the attendance coming in, and I mean, we talked about it last year. Look at last year. That main event, they had shots of empty seats up and down, like pretty much for Zach and Umino. And this
Yep.
year, it felt like a major happening. And I'm happy that they were able to pull that part off successfully. And that's great for them. We'll see how it goes in the future, I would say, which is what everyone's going to be looking at going forward. But at least for this one night, what we have to analyze right now, the feeling was there. And I think it's been missing for a long time now in Wrestle Kingdom. It's been quite some time, I would say, since we've had a show that really felt like, okay, this is the biggest show of the year. This year, there's no doubt about that, that this was the biggest show of the year. And it came off that way.
Yeah. In other years, of course, we had the Double Dome show, which was no help at all, to be quite honest. And we were on top of that criticizing that split show concept. I'm thinking that the last time it truly felt like a special show is the one when everybody thought that Tetsuya Naito would win the title. And that was in 2018. When everybody thought Naito would be defeating Okada for the title, but Okada retained. That was when the Tokyo Dome was at its hottest until now, until this one, I think.
Yeah, that was a major show, I would say. And I think that it was a case of, I mean, with that, obviously that has kind of a legendary type of ending with, the crowd basically going silent at the end for the post-match promo for Okada's win. But yeah, that was definitely a major show in and of itself. Since then, they've had ups and downs and things like that. It's not like there's been no good shows again, but just
No.
in terms of the feeling, I
Mm.
would say because the next year you had Tanahashi and Omega, and that was that was okay. That did a big number, for them. It wasn't as big as this year's show, but that was kind of the last time that was a true successful type of show, I would say. And then they started to do the double domes after that. And then that was the first year was before the pandemic started, like the
Yep.
restrictions and all that. And that was when they did all of that with the double dash with Jay White and Ibushi and all of that. Like, and it didn't really hit that well. And I think that was the start of things. It was like when they started to do the double domes. From basically all of this decade, like all of the 2020s, this has not felt like a special show, and you just hit on a very good reason why. And this year they finally got it.
Yes.
They got it back from where we were at before, so that has to automatically be a major positive in this show's favor.
Absolutely. So, Dylan, before we go further into the show, I prepared some talking points on Hiroshi Tanahashi, on his importance to the company, and especially for the term of the ace. So, on October 14, 2024, at King of Pro Wrestling, Tanahashi announced his retirement. 177 matches, 43 of them singles matches. Later, his illustrious 26-year career is over. January 4, 2026 marks the day when Go Ace turned into Ace Gone. The term ace refers to a person who or thing which stands out, excels, or represents perfection in any field, activity, or occupation, according to the Oxford Dictionary, or to a guy who is both very wise and at the same time very relaxed. Also, this guy is usually cool. This is from the Urban Dictionary. In Japanese professional wrestling, the term ace refers to the top standard bearer of a promotion, the wrestler who most clearly represents the company's identity, both in ring and outside of the ring, the clear franchise player. The ace could be the current world title holder, the top star, and the biggest draw at the moment, or a long term pillar the company is built around.
Or
Usually,
also the top pitcher in a baseball rotation as well.
exactly.
Where does this come from? But yes.
Usually, the term would be handed over from one generation to another as aces would emerge and be replaced by the next generation's ace. In Tanahashi's case, though, the term became synonymous with the man himself. He would become the ace of the universe, the 1 in 100, the most talented person of the century. Even with others holding the IWGP Heavyweight Championship or becoming huge stars like Okada, Naito, Nakamura, or Ibushi, none of them earned the right to call themselves the ace. Except for one, they were all in attendance to witness Tanahashi's retirement and congratulate him on one of the most exceptional careers in the history of Japanese pro wrestling. It wasn't obvious at first sight. I think I saw Tana wrestle in 2002 for the first time. Maybe it was his tag team with Yuta Kayoshi back in the day. But through hard work, dedication, and loyalty to New Japan Pro Wrestling, Tanahashi became the wrestler and character we saw retire today. I'd like to repeat what I recorded for the podcast We Work Stiff. They did an 8-hour show on Tanahashi's career just a couple of days ago. They uploaded that. I was part of that, and I said there that Hiroshi Tanahashi provided orientation not only to a promotion but to an entire scene. He was the benchmark for other top guys to model themselves after, regardless who they cited as their inspirations. Their looks from hair to gear, the songs chosen for them, and the way they carried themselves told you the entire story. All Japan, Noah, and others wanted their own version of the Hiroshi Tanahashi cake mix. Tanahashi created a look of glitter and glow that is distinctive his, while at the same time creating a template of the modern Japanese main event guy. Maybe the term ace will get passed on now, or maybe Tanahashi's footsteps are just too big to be filled for the current or even for the next generation. Be that as it may right now, January 4, of course, we will all miss Hiroshi Tanahashi as a wrestler, but luckily he stays around as a point of orientation for New Japan Pro Wrestling as he is President Ace.
That really describes him quite well. There's so much with Tanahashi. To really get into it the way it deserves to be would really take a whole show, I would say, to do. But we'll talk more about it when we get to the match. I would say, and everything afterwards. But well said. Well said.
Yeah, Dylan, so you said it when we go to the match itself. Right now, as we're looking at it, the entire show has a rating of 8.93. That is, of course, very early on, just a couple of hours after the show finished. And the match, Okada defeating Tanahashi in 33:03, has a rating of 9.84 based on 100 votes. And you asked the followers on our Twitter what they thought about the show, and most of them came around between 7 and 9. Some of them said that if you include the retirement match and the retirement ceremony, it was a 9 or a 10 out of 10. And if you exclude that, the show was a 7 out of 10. But, this was a complete show. And so this was, of course, a huge and integral part of this Wrestle Kingdom show. So I said it after the match. This Okada and Tanahashi match was, of course, not close to when both of them were at their physical peak. When they were at their physical peak around the mid 2010s, the quality of the match used to be higher. It used to be quicker paced in some instances. But what the two brought here was, of course, that Okada came out in all black and Tanahashi came out in all white. And it was the AEW Okada that we saw in many ways that showed very little respect to Hiroshi Tanahashi and even did the middle finger pose in the middle of the ring, and who at some points of the match bullied Tanahashi around and toyed with him in instances, and really provided the ground for Tanahashi to make numerous comebacks during the match, Dylan.
Yeah, and it was something that I think that they had kind of already teased that was going to happen, that we were not going to get the old version of Okada for this. We were going to get the AEW version. Basically, turned up. Here, like, he's going to really put the best foot forward he can with this. Because in AEW, I think most people would say his run is basically mediocre at best, like at this point. And now we get to see him at the maximum level of effort here against Tanahashi. And that came through right away early on, to be honest. And honestly, when this match was announced, I really wasn't that excited for it because, and I said it when we talked about it, like, my issue with that, more than anything, is that we had just seen this match happen last year, like their so-called last match ever. So why, like, going back at it again is not something that really appealed to me that much. But I actually liked it better that they were basically all but saying, "Hey, we're going to do something a little different this time, with a true pure heel babyface dynamic." So I was excited about the match from that sense. Coming in, and you could see right away. Okada came out with his AEW One OK Rock theme song, which didn't get any reaction whatsoever, to be fair. Like, they liked the coin drop, but when it changed to the AEW music, the crowd kind of died. Then you saw it during Tana's entrance, which Okada pretty much was breaking already. Like, he couldn't really keep it in any kind of straight face. Everybody knows how much he owes to Tanahashi and loves Tanahashi and all that.
Yes.
Like, and it was coming through pretty hard during the entrance. I mean, he went back to heel mode during and after the match, but during the entrance, you could see him kind of breaking up a little bit.
Even when he was in heel mode, you could see on his face was filled with so much glee that he was able to perform this role in this certain situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that led to a match that, to me, I was kind of surprised at the reaction to this, to be honest, because so much was about, like, doubting that this was going to be a great match. And to me, I wasn't really that wrapped up with any of the politics or any of that stuff going in. I knew that this was going to be so emotional. Like, literally one of the best wrestlers ever and a heroic figure to many is having his very last match. Really, they were in a can't-lose situation. Like, no matter what they did, this was going to be special. Like, no matter what happened, no matter who was against Tanahashi. Like I said, this was going to strike our hearts as fans, and that was going to drive this over the top. But I knew that going in. Like, it would have shocked me if this was anything less than viewed as a match of the year level match by the majority of people. For all the talk of Tanahashi over the years, I just think that this was a great cap off to what was really an amazing and underappreciated run in real time. And I hope in the future, when they look back at his career and they get to the end of it, they really acknowledge, like, how special this whole run was. Because when you look at him compared to others, I mean, look at Naito. Like, we saw him in Noah, and we saw him walking out. Like, it took him forever. And he's not having the quality of matches even close to what Tanahashi's doing right now. Like, and many legends have fallen to Father Time before, and he was able to come through on his last ever match to where he was the star of the show. Like, both in terms of emotion, which was a given, and in terms of in-ring wrestling. Like, he was the best worker on this show. Is the only, like, way we could come out of this show, I feel like, pretty much. he did a phenomenal job. Okada definitely played his role very well with the heel stuff. Again, I like this better, I think, than if they had tried to go with one of their classic match types, I would say. They didn't really play too much into that nostalgia. We did get Tanahashi shouting out Nakamura and Shibata during the match, which got a huge reaction. We even got the dome going, yow! On there when he did the Nakamura taunt.
Yeah.
It's funny because that was built up to kind of obviously it was planned, but kind of in the terms of the match was kind of thrown in there on the fly, pretty much. Because you had to do the PK into the Nakamura. Like the PK got a good reaction, but then when he did the Nakamura, that's when that got a huge reaction from the crowd.
The PK was not as obvious as the Nakamura knee strike because he did the pose before, but there is really no pose that you could do to set up a Shibata move.
Well, the pose for that was the sleeper hold. To kind of set him up in the position, pretty much.
Yeah.
That got a
huge reaction, of course, yeah.
Yeah, that was great. So. And the energy from it, that was really when the moment turned, or when the match itself turned up into something truly special. Because after he hit the PK, he hit the Bomaye, suddenly we saw him leap over the top rope, as we've seen him do so many times over the years. And it felt like bringing back his old friends kind of gave him a power boost, almost, and we got to see the old Tanahashi return
One more time, man.
Yeah, and I was like, man, this is awesome. This is an amazing match here, and I think everybody felt that way. I'm not saying anything. There's nothing to really analyze for this match because it really was so strong on emotion. But I think they booked it pretty much perfectly. They laid it out perfectly. Well, I don't think they booked it perfectly. I personally would have had him win, actually. I think that would have been... I think that would have been... I think that's the main problem. And when we get to this match, the main issue with all of this is that this was an incredible moment. And I loved that they had him kick out of the Rainmaker twice. The second time was a nuclear pop. The first one I kind of anticipated. I think most people probably figured.
The first one was so early on, and to be honest, it was a Rainmaker done at half impact.
Yeah, and I think the thing in my head, I figured he was going to kick out of the Rainmaker. I would have been surprised if that spot wasn't in the match. But the fact that they did it twice, the second one had much more impact to it. Yeah. Physically and mentally, I suppose, on there. You are correct on that. So they laid the match out so strong with all of that. And that led to why... that's a big part of why. I do think, again, I think this match would have gotten this reaction no matter what happened or who was in it. Because I think the emotions of it are so high for so many people right now, as they should be, by the way. But at the end of the day, they delivered yet another classic between the two to kind of wrap the bow on his career. And I think the match itself, I don't think they really could have done it that much better other than having Tanahashi win. I think that would have made that an all-time great moment, truly. And with Okada winning... It's kind of they kind of shuffled him away, to get to the retirement ceremony on there. And, like I said, that's my one negative on the match and my main issue with it is that ultimately I don't think this win actually, it doesn't do really anything for them to capitalize on in terms of, first of all, Okada's character. It's not like he's going to get really that much of a boost in AEW. He's still going to be feuding with Takeshita. He's still going to be in the same spot. It's not like this is going to really lead to anything more. And for New Japan, obviously, you get nothing from it at the end of the day. So with that, I just would have had the feel-good moment. I think that would have been the better call, personally.
I'm not... Yes, I see that. I can see that. I'm not sure if Tanahashi would have wanted that.
I'm sure he did. I'm sure he didn't. I'm sure he didn't. Yeah?
Yes. So it's tough when you talk about what could have been if the situation is not there and couldn't have been done in that way, because politics, of course, have to have played a role in this one too. With Okada being with AEW. At the same time, like you said, he probably would have wanted to go out this way. This year, we've seen in numerous singles match situations where he also did not win. So I don't know about that. I don't know if the victory in the end would have changed much.
You don't think the crowd reaction wouldn't have been different? Like if he had got the pin instead of Okada?
I mean, sure, the crowd reaction would have been an explosion for that very pinfall. But I don't think it would have changed things in the grand scheme of all. I mean, it could have created a great couple of seconds with the raw emotion of the crowd coming out, because I think most people would have expected Okada to win, much like I did. You thought Tanahashi could have picked up the win. I did not expect that, so it could have been a great prize for most of the people. But in the grand scheme, I don't think it would have changed a lot. It would have been
no. I mean, because like ultimately just
same reaction afterwards.
This match was an ending, like, you know, at the end of the day for Tanahashi. And I mean, it's ending for both of them for different reasons. Because again, he's going to, like, Okada's leaving now. Like, again, you don't really get anything out of that going forward, and Tanahashi's leaving to retire at the end of the day. But I do think that would have made the ending moment better if he had won. And you know, at the end of the day, they would have calmed down, and like you said, it would have been the same ceremony for sure. It's not a big critique, but I do think it would have been better. I honestly think it's objectively the right call that he would have won, because nobody really gained anything other than outside of the moment, in my opinion. So why not just have it be the best moment possible?
Yep. Yeah, I get that.
But I do agree. Like, ultimately, I do think Tanahashi probably would have argued against that. Like, if that was how it was presented. I mean, I don't think it was. I think I strongly suspect Okada had to win this match. I would say for political reasons, but I just think it would have been a better moment at the end of the day. But I mean, it's a super minor thing for an all-time memorable Tokyo Dome main event. But that's before the ceremony. Like, at the end of the day, again, we're just talking about the match. I'm not talking about the aftermath.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day.
So after the match, what a choice it was that Jay White came out first for the retirement ceremony to send off Tanahashi. I did not expect that. Yes, such a random choice. Like, for example, Yuji Nagata, he was standing ringside wearing a suit. He wasn't even like in the ring.
That was weird.
That was weird, because Yuji Nagata played a key role in Hiroshi Tanahashi's career, because until Tanahashi, Yuji Nagata was the one that held the record for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. And when Tanahashi was breaking that record, it was against Yuji Nagata. So that was really weird.
And carried the ace label before Tanahashi. Like,
exactly, yes, he took over. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think Nagata would have gotten a better reaction at the end of the day than this got. But, you know, I mean, this was an interesting mix of people that we got here.
Will Ospreay came out next, then
he got a big reaction.
Yes. Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi did as well, of course. That was interesting.
Surprised.
I was so surprised, but it goes to show how powerful Tanahashi is.
I wasn't surprised that Ibushi was there. I totally anticipated all of these people showed up, but I'm surprised that didn't get a bigger reaction. Like, you know, like Omega didn't get that much of bigger of a reaction than Jay did, and Ospreay had a way better one. And I thought when Ibushi came out, that would have gotten a huge pop. Like, oh shit! Instead, it was just like, oh,
that's the next one. Yeah. Shibata completely broke Tanahashi then.
Yeah, that totally happened.
But that is so relatable. It brought me back to the G1 climax after his brain injury, when he came out unannounced, and even the announcers, the commentary didn't know that he was coming out, apparently, and everybody in Sumo Hall was weeping, or at least being on the verge of tears. And just from the very first seconds of his theme playing, and it was very similar with Tanahashi here, just the very first seconds played, and they played I think it was the AEW version of his theme, because his original theme, the first chords of that are longer than in this version of the theme. But what's crucial here was the first 2 or 3 seconds, and those broke Tanahashi. Tanahashi turned around and started crying. Shibata came out, and it was very clear that Shibata and Tanahashi, they just don't hug, and then Shibata leaves. They always have to do something special, so they took their shirts off, and then an impromptu chop battle, which was incredibly cool.
Tanahashi didn't have a shirt, but Shibata did take
Shibata
his
did,
shirt
yeah.
off.
Shibata, yeah.
But yeah, that was awesome. But that was honestly like one of the highlights of the whole ceremony to me. Like that had the best part to me. So that was my favorite. I asked people what the best cameo was on there. I think a lot of people said Shibata. Some
Of
said
course,
Ibushi
yeah.
too, just because for the love of the game, like Ibushi. We didn't really talk about that much. Like this man literally cannot walk. Like he forced his way down the ramp, not even with crutches. Like you would have thought he could have at least had a crutch or something. But I know he's been like outspoken in the past about his like he's not a medical science believer or whatever. So he says he doesn't need crutches to get down that long ass Tokyo Dome ramp, which he
Of course
barely
not.
could. But give it up to him because he made it, by God. So give big props to Ibushi for showing up and making his way down the ring just to walk down the ring, pretty much.
What a man. I mean, it looked like he was outside the Tokyo Dome before the show taking pictures with numerous fans. I think it looked like he was part of the masses streaming into the dome.
Just gave him a ticket. And,
Yes.
nah,
So,
like I said, I was super expecting him to show up actually, but
so next up were Keiji Muto and Tatsumi Fujinami. Keiji Muto
Muto almost missed his cue.
yeah.
Yeah.
So his music starts playing. Camera focuses on Muto because him and Fujinami, obviously they didn't make Muto and Fujinami walk the long ass ramp because that would have taken hours. They were sitting ringside and the camera was on Muto, and Muto suddenly goes, "Oh shit, that's me!" He's getting up, getting into the ring, handing over the bouquet. They were taking some selfies, and these selfies that
Yeah, he literally took selfie.
Muto are taking, those are the epitome of old people selfies. They look tremendous.
Good for all of them.
Yes.
Yeah, we had talked about it. I had told you Fujinami would be there specifically, and
Yeah.
he was, and I fully anticipated that.
I wasn't doubting that.
Well, I mean, he was there, and I thought it was a great moment to have him in. Muto has to live with the fact that Tanahashi sold out the dome and he didn't. So
Yeah, and you know
the,
who even outshined Keiji Muto was Tetsuya Naito, because it almost felt like Tetsuya Naito was taking over the show for how long it took him to come out. Tanahashi looked like he was getting nervous. He was making the clock gesture on his wrist, and Naito just took forever to get onto the
yes,
ramp and into the ring. And they not only played his New Japan theme music, but they also played his new theme music, which surprised me a lot, because
me too.
they gave them some publicity. They didn't need to do that, but they chose to, apparently, or maybe it was part of his deal. I don't know, but it happened, and that was unexpected. Not unexpected that he was there, but the way that he was there was unexpected. And he got the fist bump from Tanahashi in the end.
That was one of the biggest reactions of the cameos, because I think people I think he was the first, like I said, I pretty much anticipated all of these guys. He was the one that was most on the edge to me. Like, would they put it, give him that moment? And he actually got basically the headlining spot of the cameos.
Yes, especially right now with him being in the Pro Wrestling Noah, and not only in for one night, but apparently in for a long run.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, again, he was the one that I was kind of like, would they give him that moment? And they did. And I mean, again, he got a huge reaction with his face, because his Titantron is basically him, his face looking up at the camera at the start, along with his graphics. So, that got a huge reaction. The biggest surprise was that Bushi was also got this entrance with Naito as well. Now, talking about political moves, here we had Bushi get this run up or walk up. It was great. Like you said, I'm pretty sure Tanahashi was thinking, please God, don't go over our time for this. And Naito didn't care about that. Apparently, he had to get his gimmick in, and perhaps just mess with Tanahashi one more time as well. But it was great. Like, that was a great moment.
Yes. Yeah, and of course we got the world's largest air guitar that was thrown into
Yes.
the ring, and it was of course also the highest thrown air guitar of all time because Tanahashi had to wait for it to come down, and then he played his final air guitar solo before being wheeled around in what Chris Charlton called the Ace Mobile around around the Tokyo Dome. Tremendous moment for Tanahashi and a tremendous retirement ceremony
And they
altogether.
played high energy.
They played his original theme. Yeah.
Yes, and I predicted that as well. Another prediction that paid off there. Yeah, like the ceremony was great. Honestly, all of this, I do have to say, again, it's not really a criticism, but more an observation. I actually think they could have gone bigger with all of this, like from the start, because if you look at his entrance to the ring, it was basically a completely normal entrance. Like, for Tanahashi, there was nothing really special about the entrance itself. Um, like, you could have had some kind of pyro, a band come out. I mean, we've seen that before when Breakers came out with him, like at the time at that one time
Yeah.
show. Like, they didn't really have like maybe some kind of epic entrance for him. He didn't have any of that. He just like, hey, I'm walking out. Like, this is my thing.
Just
You
did.
know,
Evil had a guitar player.
Now, yeah, see, Evil, like, he got a super entrance, but Tanahashi, he just was like, hey, like, this is my last match, I'm gonna go out and wrestle. And then the ceremony was really like, just a procedure of like his old friends and people they have there just to come out. And like you said, they were missing Nagata and stuff, and certainly some others that they could have gotten, and some they couldn't have gotten, of course. Like, that was a big talking point that Nakamura wasn't there, which obviously sucks. Like, nobody
Yes.
is happy about that. I think anybody with a brain would would say that. But again, it's one of those things where it's like, I personally didn't expect it. It sucked that he wasn't there because he was such a, like, again, if you're going with who meant the most to him personally, I think he would probably say Nakamura, like, of a rival or anything like that. So for him not to be there, that feels like a big part of his career and his part of wrestling's missing. But it's like, he was on Twitter, he was saying like that he's like, I'm watching you, Nakamura said, like, as the match started. And we already know how much they meant to each other. Like, anybody again with a brain knows that. So it's not like that changes anything, but it would have been an epic moment. A part of me was worked. I kept thinking, like, because everybody was saying it, and I thought, like, what a moment it would be if, like, he was somehow there anyway, like, unbeknownst to all of us. But it didn't happen, unfortunately, and that was the one bummer of the ending ceremony. But I mean, there's a lot of people you could have gone with too with him. Like we mentioned Nagata earlier. He's had epic battles with so many people over the years. Even Goto was a longtime rival of his, and I'm sure they said their pieces backstage or
Yep.
whatever. And I mean, and all of these were, maybe the rules were, because all of these people were basically inactive New Japan wrestlers. Like, at this point, like, they got to come out. Like, they're either retired or they're just not wrestling for New Japan, and maybe they didn't want the active roster a part of this for some reason. I think that's stupid if that is the case.
So
But
that would be a weird rule.
yeah, well, I mean, that did happen though. Like, if you look at the people who came out, none of them were active
Yeah,
roster
that's
members.
right. That's right.
So I mean, I don't know if that was the rule or it just worked out that way. But they were missing some people, but still they had limited time. Their choices were a little odd with like Jay White. That's not somebody I don't think many people would like associate with Tanahashi. I'm definitely not on a first like level basis. But I mean, he did mean a lot to Jay. Like, like, I'm sure
He
he
did.
probably asked
Yes.
for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, the rules of the relationship are, AEW gets like, if they want something, then that's going to happen at the end of the day. So, we'll see. Again, I mean, we're not going to see, like, this is the end at the end of the day. And it was a very nice moment. Like I said, I actually thought they could have gone even bigger if they wanted, but it was still warm and heartfelt and a feel good ending all the same, at the end of the day.
On the topic of warm and heartfelt, Naoki Sugabayashi was actually the first one to give Tanahashi a bouquet of flowers before Jay White came out. And this guy is a very earnest and stone-faced businessman. He has been the chairman of New Japan Pro Wrestling for, I don't know for how long he has been there.
2013.
Okay, I thought it would have been earlier, but that could be. But this guy, the point is, this guy is a very stern, earnest businessman that doesn't show any emotions. I've never seen this guy smile. He's always sitting at the press conferences and is very, very sincere. But even this guy couldn't hold it. He was hugging Tanahashi. He was smiling, and it looked like he was about to cry, but he could hold it. That was so, so sweet, man.
Yeah, it was great. Like I said, it was just a great setup. Everybody was happy with it. And I think that, these guys, I mean, what a moment for everyone around Tanahashi. In addition to Tanahashi himself, and that's something that does need to be stated. Like for anybody that came out and gave him flowers, that's something they'll never forget. Let alone the fans watching it. So I think it accomplished everything you would have wanted ultimately, like from start to finish.
Yes. Yeah, I guess that is it for the retirement of Tanahashi, or do we have anything that you wanted to add?
Well, I think again we're getting into like bigger picture things now, like with this, but like when it comes to this ending, I think we have to ask some big picture questions now. Where would you say Tanahashi ranks on the all-time, like the all-time list of wrestlers in Japan? Like what's his like true legacy at this point?
Lists, right?
Or I don't know about lists, but like just wherever he's at, like where
I
do
think
you
he's
think his legacy? Like,
I think he's in the upper echelon of the biggest stars that have come out in Japanese pro wrestling ever. It's a different time, of course. Whereas we could
yeah,
not compare his career to, for example, a career that Riki Dozan had. Riki Dozan
but yeah, that's a
ha-
totally different time period.
Exactly, yeah, it is, because not only is it a completely different time period, but it's also completely different circumstances with the media coverage that Riki Dozan got, because his matches after the Second World War were, of course, in the public television. So he was much more of a household name than a Tanahashi is. But when it comes to his importance to the business itself, to the business of pro wrestling itself, Tanahashi has to be considered one of the most crucial figures, at least in the last 40 years.
Yeah, and to compare him to those times, and it's funny you mentioned him because I'm working on a video about Riki Dozan, like as we speak, actually. So it's interesting you brought that up. Obviously, something like that, like you said, you can't really compare them. And the problem with this is that ultimately, whatever success they've had in terms of global success and in-ring success, obviously he definitely has that. Ultimately, wrestling during his career was not as embedded in the culture of Japan during his time as it was even really during the 90s, like which was like, the early 90s run with the Three Musketeers. Like it just wasn't as embedded in the culture, let alone in Inoki's era or Ricky Dozan or anything like that. But when you look at the overall run of things, you look at his run, it was basically 20 years as a main eventer, like level, guy. And then a couple of years where he was an important player, even if he wasn't the main event, to where he would sell out the Tokyo Dome for his retirement. I think he definitely is on the upper echelon, like top tier, like one of the biggest stars of all time in wrestling. At the end of the day, especially for New Japan, if you're counting ring quality, I think he's an elite tier wrestler in the history of this business. Like he has to be up there. Um, I like if you're making a list and there's a greatest wrestler list coming out next year, I couldn't dream of not putting him in the top 10 and probably top 5. Probably for pure in-ring quality. Like, I
He's
think he's one of the best wrestlers that has walked this earth, in my
one of the
opinion.
smartest minds that we have ever seen in pro wrestling. And even in the last 10 years, when he was visibly getting older, he was still able to reach heights that others, even in their physical peak, would not achieve. And he continued to do so. He even continued to do so, even though I doubted him year after year. But he just kept on going. That is how great of a pro wrestler he was.
Yeah, and it wasn't just you that doubted him. I was kind of his champion during these times. I never, and like obviously physically he slowed down. Like to deny that would be ridiculous. But in terms of being able to work through his limitations, I think he has to have, he has to be considered to have had one of the greatest retirement runs ever. Like as well, like for an old
Yes.
guy type of run. Like I said, if you compare this to his contemporaries and people on his level, compare him to Naito now, Muto when he was in Noah, it's like it's not even a comparison. He's so far ahead of these guys. Uh, and he's going out again, pretty much every year, he's at least had one match that was like a match of the year level match, whether it was Takeshita last year or now this with Okada. He, like I said, at the very end, his very last night, he was the best worker on the show, and I think that's really special. When you look at his run, and as a star, he meant so much for sure. Really, more as a like the thing that he brought most, I would say, his true legacy for New Japan is that he brought stability to the company in a position that would have been very, very hard to carry. Where he was coming up as Inoki was on his way out. They were trying to get things back at the end. There were some rough times there, like the end of the 2000s, but he soldiered on, and they were able to go into a boom that they had never seen before. Again, maybe wrestling was not ingrained as culturally in Japan as it was in past eras, but on the other hand, his boom was a global one for New Japan. Like he's not famous just in Japan; he's known all across the world, more than many, many, many Japanese stars, and known on an intimate first-hand basis. With all of the matches that so many people have watched, a lot of people became fans of this company directly because of this particular rivalry from a worldwide status, like Tanahashi and Okada. So when you look at that, he's an elite tier on every aspect, and I think he should be considered one of the greatest wrestlers of all time for sure. My
Yes.
second question for you, and I think this is really where we're going to have a jumping off point, and this is the real turning point of things, because I would say, like, it's hard. Like I said, like I said, just him not winning was the only slight negative I could have for this match. Otherwise, it was an overwhelming success. Like, everybody's positive for good reason, as they should be. But then you get to the other side of this coin. This is a big picture question I'm about to throw your way. Him retiring now, like it's now over for the Ace of the Universe, one of the greatest legends we've ever seen. Who's left? Like who in Japanese pro wrestling? We'll get to the New Japan side of it, but in terms of pro wrestling, who is the next true legend? Like one of the greatest of all time candidates. Are there any of those left now? Like in Japanese pro wrestling?
There is one left that can have a similar sized retirement, but I'm not sure if it would be or it will be as emotional as it will be for Tanahashi, or as it was for Tanahashi now.
Mm-hmm.
The one that could have a similar sized show would be Tetsuya Naito when he chooses to retire. But as I said, I mean, for his fans, it will surely be an emotional moment. But the importance of Tanahashi is something completely different. Tanahashi brings together so many different pro wrestling fans, whereas Tetsuya Naito, he has a very dedicated fan base that is dedicated his fan base. There's lots of pure Tetsuya Naito fans, But when you look at the Tanahashi fans, Tanahashi has fans all over the branch. But
He
Naito
just
is
wasn't as
Mhm.
like he just wasn't as pushed as much as Tanahashi or as important to the
Yes,
company overall either.
that's true as well. But that's the only one that comes to mind where I would say they could also book the Tokyo Dome and have it a success.
Yeah, I think if that did happen like that, I think it would be a successful show for the record, like for Naito. I think Okada when he retires,
Yeah.
whenever that
Oh,
happens.
of course, yes. You could also go to
Yeah,
Nakamura. If Nakamura decides
yeah,
to leave WWE at some point and retire within Japanese pro wrestling, that's entirely possible. But I didn't just even consider these two
yeah,
on
yeah.
this question right now because they are so far gone from Japanese
Well,
wrestling.
that's
Even Okada,
well, yeah.
even
I
Okada,
think
it hasn't been so long, but he's so far away.
Yeah, like I think Nakamura for sure. I think that would be an interesting question. Although to be fair, like when he's come back for Noah, he has made a difference each time. Like it's not like
Yeah.
he's been totally forgotten. And I do think he is a star.
No,
Like he
I'm not.
has
I'm not
huge star
saying
power.
that they are forgotten. I just didn't consider
No,
them
no,
for this question.
they were just forgotten by you in the
Yeah.
context at first of this very particular question. Yes, which is like no, it's I totally understand where you're coming from. But so I think all of those guys will have big dome shows in the future. I don't think they'll be as big as this. I will say is Tanahashi, and I don't think any of them were as important to the company as he was, and I don't think any of them were as good of a wrestler as he was either. So there's all things considered with that. Is there anybody from I mean, like I said, I mean, it's an objective question about the in-ring side of things, but there's really it's going to be tough to find somebody with his catalog of great big time matches that
Yeah.
Tanahashi had. From a big match wrestler, it kind of feels like he's the last of a dying breed a little bit. I don't know if that guy exists right now in terms of that. And I mean, they can't really because of the way things are in the whole scene, pretty much. But from an in-ring case, there's a lot of great wrestlers, of course. They're only going to push forward and be better and better. But for now, it feels like we're kind of it really feels like the true end of an entire era. Like not
It
like,
is.
yes, it's Tanahashi's
No,
retirement,
it
but it's the
is.
end of an era. Yeah.
It does not only feel like the end of an era. This is the end
Yeah,
of an era,
you're right.
and
You're
it's
right.
and the words like these should not be thrown around
Yeah, yeah.
like every single time when we have the retirement like this. But this one is so significant that it changes not only New Japan Pro Wrestling, but it changes the scene completely. And now we might look at Dylan. We might start to look at the rest of the card because
Yeah, yes. This is where things are going to turn a little bit, but yes, go
because
on.
everybody is of course celebrating tonight, celebrating the retirement, but they will be waking up January 5 after Tanahashi. This is the first day. This is day one after Tanahashi, and New Japan Pro Wrestling has a giant task in front of them. And when we look at the card that we had today, there were two matches that were crucial and that needed to deliver. And in my opinion, both of these matches delivered. First of which, of course, is the never openweight title match between the champion, King of Darkness Evil, and Aaron Wolf. Aaron Wolf got a tremendous reaction from the live audience. He is a very well known Japanese judoka and came in as a celebrity basically when he chose to take the path to become a professional wrestler. Here he had his debut, and of course the pressure on him, I can imagine, must have been tremendous. He had Evil by his side, and I said it on Twitter. I really want to say hats off to Evil for making this match the success it was, because Aaron Wolf, I don't want to say he looked rough because he had his moments in the match, but you could see that there is a lot of work that this guy has to do
Yeah.
before you can say that he is. I mean, he is a pro wrestler, but there is a long way for him to come along and feel that he actually he knows what he's doing. That's not what I'm saying, but he has to come around and feel the professional wrestling take over his muscle memory, so to speak. That's where he still has way to go. And of course, the guy has just had his first match. But the thing is about him is that they threw him into this situation, and now he has to deliver because on day one he wins the championship in this company, and the height that he can fall from right now is tremendously high because this guy needs to be a success from day one. It's not like the other young lions that they are in the that he is in the opener of this Tokyo Dome show. No, he is in one of the key matches. He presented himself like a young lion with shaved hair and with black trunks, but everything else surrounding him was not a young lion. So that is where it gets difficult for him now that the Tokyo Dome show is over to transfer himself over to the daily business and to function within New Japan Pro Wrestling. That is going to be his task from tomorrow on. I'm sure that he will have assistance by his side, and I'm sure that he is able to make it work, but the pressure has to be tremendous.
Yeah, and I think this was the match, honestly, that I thought was like arguably the most important of the night. And I think right away when he came out, and again, like jumping to this kind of does a disservice, I think, to the card in a positive way, like I would say in a lot of ways, because when he came out, this show was a struggle. Like this was not a good show up to this point at all, and the crowd was not active for much of it. But when he came out, it was like everything flipped on its head. And it pretty much confirmed what I had suspicion of, that no matter, kind of like I said in the main event, no matter what they did, this was going to be a success for the live crowd. Like, they were so into this guy and looked at him as a hero, which he is. He's an Olympic gold medalist. Like, this guy deserves this fanfare. Like, he deserves to be treated like a star. And they showed right away. I thought the entrance was great, actually, because like, he had come out in a judo gi and then took it off to reveal the young lion. Like, so it was like a transformation from a judoka to a pro wrestler. I thought it was a great entrance. I actually think one of my big criticisms heading into this match, if I had done it differently, I would have had this be his debut purely. Like, we wouldn't have seen him before this, ever. Like, he would not have been seen. He would have been seen in a suit at the press conference, and that's it. Because I think the run-ins actually kind of hurt his aura a little bit to a lot of people expecting the matches. Obviously not to the live crowd at all in this show. But I think because coming into this match, a lot of people were doubting him. And I didn't understand why, because my take was, look, the run-ins, okay, maybe they didn't look good. If this match delivers, nobody's going to care about the other stuff. like it's going to be totally irrelevant, which it is. Like, that's true. And now everyone loves him. I do think as a match, there's a great comment on Cage Match. It's funny because it's like was right at the top for me when this happened, and I will give it up to Kadevis92. He gave it 6 out of 10, and he basically said, "I don't understand why people hated the previous match having House of Torture interference, but it's okay with it here." And I mean, he, like me, expected it in both, which they should have. Which, again, if you look at the nuts and bolts of this match, this was not that different than all of the other bullshit House of Torture matches. At the end of the day, it's just, instead of the crowd dying like at Dominion because nobody wanted to see this anymore, they had Aaron Wolf in there, who they love so much that they would cheer no matter what. And that was the big difference, is the crowd. His wrestling, he's green. Like, it's his first match. What are we gonna say? Like, oh, he's in a, the odds of him being a super worker in one match in is like less than 2%. Pretty much. It was like that was not gonna happen. Like, I think anybody reasonable wasn't expecting that. But he showed that he was good enough. At the end of the day,
and that's key, and that's why I said it twice, that the pressure must have been tremendous because
he was nervous. Like, if you look at his entrance, he was scared.
He was, but he did not crumble under the pressure.
No, not at all. Actually, he got more confident as the match went along. But if you look at his entrance, he was clearly nervous. And he came in, and he did his thing. Again, I wouldn't say this was any kind of great match, but it did prove that he can, he could be at this level without any hesitation. I think the main thing they needed to get over was his finish. And I think the submission is great. Like this finishing move he has.
Yeah, the
I
triangle
actually,
choke.
it was like it wasn't even like that because he had a double arm chicken wing triangle choke like with the body scissors. Like it was super unique. It was almost like a dragon sleeper, like Eastern stretch, with the double arms. It was totally different actually, but it was a really great submission, like very unique style. I've never seen somebody do that in wrestling. How he did it. I actually almost like the splash, like that he did from the top, even a little bit more, because he did come in.
Kind of a frog splash version.
Yeah, it was. But the way he kind of glided through the ring kind of reminded me of Okabayashi's Golem Splash a little bit. Like the way he did it, it wasn't as good as like the Golem Splash. For people who don't know, that was like one of my favorite moves. He did it a little bit like that, but with a little bit of a frog splash. It was nowhere near a high fly flow. I think that's what he was going for, but it wasn't as good. But still, I loved the splash. I thought that was great. But the finish at the end was awesome. They didn't really do too much like storyline stuff. Well, because I thought there was a possibility of like a big showdown with the Young Lions backing Wolf against House of Torture and like saving him, but it was really more straightforward just to put all the focus on him, which I think was a fine call, like nothing wrong with that. And it was a good match. And like I said, the reaction, it had you thinking, hey, maybe he should have just won the world title. Like they should have just put him against Takeshita, and that would have gotten a major reaction, unless what happened to him, which would have been tragic. I mean, it was already sad what happened after the match, but he delivered. It was a very good performance from him for the expectations, but I totally agree with what you said, because I think a lot of people were like, again, there was a lot of emotions on this show, and that's what fans are about, and I'm not judging anyone, but there was a lot like, this was the greatest match of all time, like one of the greatest things we've ever seen, and I'm with you. He's got a lot of work to do, and I don't know, because ultimately, he had the benefit of coming in as a legitimate superstar, not as a pro wrestling rookie. Like, this is a guy everybody known. He might have drawn a few fans to this dome. I think obviously the majority are there for Tana, but I wouldn't put it past a few fans, some fans being there just to see this gold medalist hero. Sure. And ultimately, that was great for tonight. Like, the fans treated him like the top star of the company, besides Tanahashi, obviously. That leeway is going to run out eventually, and he's going to have to go back by his merits as a wrestler. And we're going to have to see if he can do that long term. And again, nobody knows that for sure. But they definitely got enough out of this, at the end of the day, even if it wasn't a technical classic or anything like that.
Yeah. And, he is going to be those that the company is focusing around. And
let me ask you a question before we move on. Yes. What did you think of his look? Like the young lion attire. Like, how do you think he looks in it?
When I was seeing him for the first time, I thought this was Ryuichi Sekine from Pro Wrestling Basara, because both from the hairstyle and from the body shape and the black trunks, they looked astonishingly similar. Like I said, he didn't.
Is this a New Japan main eventers look?
No, he didn't debut with the Young Lions. So I get the idea that he wants to display that he is going through the system, but he is not.
Kinda, yeah, exactly, yeah.
He's not. He's not going through the system. He's pushed to win a championship in his first match. So I get the general idea of the look, but I don't think that it was a choice that suited the position on the card that he was in, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's not his position is as a main eventer. Like, that is how he should be used going forward. Like, he's going to be one of the people they bring this company around. Like I said, I think there's an argument that he should have just won the main title. Like, I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation when you look at the crowd reaction on this show. And nor do I think it's unreasonable that he.
I think he would have. I think he would have at least won the global title if that would have been available.
the global title.
Yeah. That's the second highest after the world title. That's and the other one that was available was the never title.
Well, there's an argument. Well, I don't care about any of those. Like the world title is really the only one that matters. Like the belt is kind of superfluous. Like otherwise, and like I said, I think ultimately he should be considered. Like he should be main eventing this show next year. To be honest, like that plan should already be in place. At the end of the day, they need to do everything they can to make him ready for that. So I don't know if we're quite there yet, but it's obviously only one match in. And I mean, this look is going to change. Like, I don't think this is going to be his long-term situation at the end of the day. I mean, and I didn't mind it. I mean, it's not like he's the first guy to go basic. I mean, like, this is the same look Shibata had for his whole career, pretty much. It doesn't really fit him that
but
much.
With Shibata, it's a style choice. It's a style choice, and he's not saying I'm working as a young lion.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. You're right. And I do think this will change. Like, I don't think this will be by the time we get to the Dome next year. He will have a different attire, in my opinion. I just didn't think that this is going to last long term, and I wanted to see your opinion on it. But I love the entrance though of the judo into the wrestling gear. I thought that was great.
Was a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, I still think much like the other one. I agreed, totally agreed with that. I actually think that, again, they could have gone even bigger if they wanted to. Like with more lasers and fireworks and stuff. But instead, they particularly, like you said, it was a choice to go into this young lion gimmick or whatever. But yeah, like you said, in reality, that doesn't hold up. So they need to kind of move past that, in my opinion, as he's already a champion. So yeah, like good debut for Aaron Wolf. Definitely not any kind of nobody could argue it was a disaster or anything like that.
No.
So like we definitely got off on the right foot with him at the end of the day. So that's good, and maybe the reports of Evil looking elsewhere. This will finally be the report that comes true, along with the dozens of others every year. Yes, exactly. Like this could be the one that he's out.
It's always so funny to see these reports, man. Yeah, well,
and who knows?
Who knows? And on the topic of Aaron Wolf main eventing, it's going to be interesting who is part of this main event scene come next year, because when you look at the show, most of the guys that were part of the main event scene since like late 24 or in the Never Openweight 6-man tag team title Rambo match. Goto, Zack Sabre Jr., and Shota Umino. They were all in the opening match of this show. And that tells you a lot about how the company thinks the main event scene worked out last year, even though with Goto, there is no argument that this wasn't successful. But it's very obvious that they don't see the guy as the main event guy.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was successful against their wishes. Like they basically had to do that because last year was so bad and Zack was such a non-draw as champion. They had to move it, and he just so happened to be in that spot, and it turned out to be great, which people like me always knew it would be. And like it's interesting this show layout in general, and I do have to say this is another reason why I think this show, like it was great. Like the main event saved the show, in my opinion. If you look at this, like think about never mind us, STRIGGA, and the people listening to this. Let's all try to come together and think of yourself as a guy in Japan who has not watched wrestling, maybe in your life. Like, let alone if you're older, maybe decades. If you're a teenager, maybe you've never seen it. Most of this show was entrances, STRIGGA. Like, early on.
Oh,
like,
my God.
You watched all, and I think that was something they should have known better. And they really made a mistake doing all this. I get that you wanted everybody on this show, but this is your one chance to make an impression, like on national TV. In a sold-out dome. You're never going to look bigger than this. And most of this show on the undercard was entrances. Like, so much time was wasted on that shit.
It's not only that they were entrances, they were just regular entrances
exactly.
on a bigger stage. We had, like I said, we had few entrances that were really, really special. Not even Tanahashi's entrance can be considered really special in a way. It was his last one, of course, but they could have done so much more, like you said. There were some entrances that were special, but when you, for example, like go to the 10-man tag that followed the IWTV Women's strong title match that took forever, and it was just a bunch of dudes, just 10 dudes that came out, that could have come out in one entrance because it was a faction war. That's what it was.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and even parts of the entrances were so cringe. For example, with David Finlay and his ridiculous minigun that he brought to the ring.
At least
So
that was something. I mean, I'm not saying it was
there was
cool per
something.
se, but it was at least something. Like Evil
I
and
wanna
Finley were the only two that had special entrances, really.
Yeah, I want to say that the entrances for the junior
Takeshi.
match, they were good. I really especially liked the entrance that Kosei Fujita got. Desperado also got a nice little entrance. But you're correct on that most of the time spent here was entrances. And yeah, I was feeling bad for Shuri and Saya Kamitani, even though 2 points here, they got more time than usual women's matches on the Wrestle Kingdom card have gotten in recent years. And Saya Kamitani is obviously hurt from the match that she had at Queendom. So the 12 minutes that they got was good, but they could have gotten more and just take it from the match that followed. That the entrances of that match took longer than the entire women's match on this card.
Okay, let's kind of circle back to start here because we're kind of going all over the place, glossing over some stuff.
No, I'm not glossing over. I'm asking you a question because you asked about the entrances.
Oh yeah, well, yeah. Then you went to the women's match with the injury and stuff. Yeah. So like, let's kind of circle back to the start of the show. Like I said, like we're bouncing around too much, in my opinion. What did you watch the pre-show matches?
I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like there's a lot to say about them.
No, no. But I was originally I was going to follow up because you asked about the entrances. I was actually going to follow up with the next match for the future of the company because we were talking about Aaron Wolf. We're talking about his entrance. Then you ask about the entrances, and then I kind of stumbled around. You're correct on that. But I was going to follow up from Aaron Wolf to the world title match actually, because I was talking about the main event scene, and of course the guys that were in the main event scene were in the Rumble, and now they have to establish a new main event scene. Because when you look at the guys that they have chosen last year, they are not part of that anymore, or at least not for the moment. But Yoratsuji, it was very obvious from the day he returned to New Japan Pro Wrestling that he was the guy that they should have given the world title to very early on in his return run with New Japan. We were at the forefront of saying that. When he returned against Zanada, we were advocating for him to win the title back then. It didn't happen, but now here we are. He defeated Konosuke Takeshita in 29-20 with a very unique finish. He completely speared him out of his boots. That I think it was the most effective and uniquely looking Gene Blaster I've ever seen from him at the biggest stage. That was good. And then he put Takeshita into the young lion finisher, the crab hold.
Yeah.
Takeshita actually tapped out. That was quite unique. So overall, what did you think about this match? And did you think it did what it was supposed to do for Yoratsuji?
Well, banger match. I thought is great. I think like Takeshita is going to go down as like kind of underappreciated because I think people kind of turned on this run for reasons that some of which were his fault, but mostly not. Like he is like in ring wise, I still think he should be considered one of the best going, and I think this match kind of proved that again.
I wasn't a fan of some of his last matches that he had, but this is the kind of match that I expect from a talent like Konosuke Takeshita to deliver on a big stage like the Tokyo Dome. He was completely there, and he was on the level that I expect.
Yeah, I guess we have to agree to disagree because I thought his matches with Zack and Goto were pretty great. Like,
those were great. I'm just saying recently. I'm looking at the matches that he had in AEW recently.
Oh, I don't care about those. Like that doesn't even matter.
Didn't really like the one with Okada. But you're correct that the New Japan matches that he has had. You talked about the one that he had with Tashi last year. Great matches.
Yeah, like as the champion, like there's really more than anything. AEW, like whatever. Like at the end of the day, like that whole storyline is just dumb, in my opinion. Like what they're doing with that, all of that. But as the champion, I think he's done a really good job in an unenviable position. I kind of made this point at the end of when we were talking about the Tanahashi show, his homecoming show.
Hmm.
Like his reign really is irrelevant when you think about it. Like anybody could have been in his positions and it would have basically done the same amount of like business. Like it's not like because people are talking about him like he was this huge bomb, but actually all of his shows were successful outside of the Zack one because he was like Zack. But the reason they were for successful was because Tanahashi was in like special positions that anybody could have done it and it wouldn't have mattered. So he was kind of in like a no lose and a no win role at the same time. The hope would have been that this put Tsuji over big,
Hmm.
um, which I think it failed not because of the match, but because of what happened afterwards. At the end of the
Yeah.
day,
Oh my
like
God.
the match itself was good. He made him seem like a huge star. I loved the finish. I thought that was awesome. Like great idea. I fully thought Tsuji would win. I know some people were kind of a little bit worried.
No, no, no.
But Suji, I thought I was very confident. I mean, you can't say for sure who was going to win based on the women's match earlier, So there's always the case somebody could throw a
Uh,
curveball, or an injury we don't know about, or something like that. But I was pretty confident Suji was going to win. I didn't think he was going to use the crab hold, which I thought was a perfect finish for the storyline that's been concocted of Suji fighting against AEW and all of that. Using the original New Japan move, pretty much like the
mhm.
most known move that every single wrestler has used that ever comes to the New Japan's doors, as the finish to get the title back and potentially. I mean, they showed the screen of the old belt on when Suji came out. Like that was part of his Titantron. Uh,
Yeah, I'm really.
you
Let's see
can't
what
not bring
happens
it
now.
back after showing the belt in the
Yeah,
Titantron.
yeah.
In my opinion, like if they were not going to bring it back, they just wouldn't have. They wouldn't have done that. Like nobody
Uh,
made them put that in the video. So I fully think that's going to happen. I don't know how that's going to what they're going to say about it. If it's going to be the
yeah.
same lineage
The
or what.
question is, why didn't it happen here?
You're right. Like well, they had another angle to do. Like that was more important.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and that's the problem with this, and that's why this match ultimately I feel like is kind of like I thought it was great. I enjoyed watching it a lot. It was probably the best pure match on the show, besides the
Yeah,
main event, of
you
course.
know, before we go
But
to the angle, let's
yeah,
talk about the match itself.
it was great.
Because it's that's why I wanted to talk about these two matches after
Yeah,
another. Because of course the crowd was incredibly hot for Iron Wolf and Evil, and they at the first moments of this match, it was questionable if the crowd could have been as hot as for the match before that. But then they chose an old trick that New Japan Pro Wrestling has used so many times in the last couple of years, in the last decade, or in the last 20 years, where they do big matches after another. And for the first few minutes of this match, there isn't really anything special that happens. There is some teasing spots, and they go into the ring and have a lockup and go outside and just have the crowd get a chance to breathe. But then the 10-minute mark or so comes and they just turn it up a bit. And it continues like that. They just turn it up a bit, a bit, a bit. They did the sequence where they were doing each other's moves. And then the sequence started with Tsuji doing Gene Blasters. There was this enormous Gene Blaster where Takeshita didn't even know where he was. He was facing Tsuji with his back, and Tsuji just speared him into the turnbuckle. That looked amazing. And towards the last 10 minutes of the match, I would say, the crowd was completely invested because, like you said, this was best pure wrestling match of the show. And these two were not holding back and throwing hands left and right until the very finish that you said was incredible. So both when it comes to these two guys being pure wrestlers and to the art of the match, how it was put together, was really special.
Yeah, again, I have no problems with the match, but I don't think it actually matters because of what they did afterwards. Ultimately, I think that's going to be what people were talking about more than even the match
Yes.
itself, unfortunately. And I mean, it was going to get overshadowed, like no matter
Yeah,
what. Like the main event was what everybody's going to talk about, no matter what.
and
You
it's
know, like so.
crazy
Yeah.
because they've done that before. They've they've done a similar angle before with Kenta and Tetsuya Naito years ago, and it
Well,
bombed then, and it bombed now.
that was worse because first of all, that was the main event, and it served no purpose. We thought. On the other hand, though, that led to a great number the next month for their match. I wouldn't have done it at all anyway. I think you could have gotten there anyway without messing up the Dome main event.
Yeah,
This was not as egregious because, again, this wasn't the main event. Like, the main match was the main event, like by leaps and bounds. That said, what they did was bad. Like, at the end of the day, and that's the big problem, ultimately. Why would you do this? What do they see in him? You know, like, what do they see in Jake Lee that makes them say, okay, we're
so
gonna have him cut this big promo, and yeah, you can take the lead here.
no, I wanted to make one point that I needed to disagree with you on. For the 10-man tag, you said that there were no real reactions until the Never Openweight title match. That's not entirely true because the 10-man tag match was weirdly over with the crowd, and some of the
Power of
people
Jake Lee.
that I saw that I know and have seen tweets from said that Jake Lee was over in the building, and so maybe that's the idea that they had, that Jake Lee has been a factor for them, and they want to try this dude to be a main event player. How it was executed in the end, like you said, it was a disaster.
I still don't understand why, like, because they like you had this great match. You know, it's one that a lot of people liked, and it was kind of like a super high impact match too. It was one with lots of big moves and crazy
Yeah,
stuff like that happening, and then you had the emotional and cool finish, like that had great storytelling to it. So you had a little bit of everything with that match. Then they gave him a promo, like basically, you know, that he was going to lead things going forward, and then you had Jake come out and attack afterwards, to where okay, like we totally get where this is going. Like you wanted to set up the title match. I don't. It's not like I really hate Jake Lee as much as some people do. I thought his title run in Noah was actually pretty stabilizing. Like when he came in, when he was the champion, it wasn't like a great like anything all hits or anything like that. But I thought it was a pretty good run at a really weird time for the company, where Kaito was coming off of that humiliating Okada loss, and I think he kind of got the title into a good spot by the end of it.
I
Uh,
was not expecting Jake Lee to perform or work out as well as he did in Noah in the end.
Yeah, me either. I thought his run in Noah was a pretty good success, considering like All Japan was definitely a mixed bag, and that him in general to me, I would say is a mixed bag. Like I think he can be good, but a lot of times if the effort's not there, I mean, like his New Japan run, that really did nothing for me whatsoever before his injury, and now he gets the chance to really sink his teeth into something. But I wish they had done this angle on New Year's Dash. If you were gonna do this angle, do it the day after. Let Tsuji have his moment because this isn't Naito getting his big win after years, you know, where he failed 3 years ago or whatever. This is a guy who's expected to carry this company forward for years to come, ideally. And you basically, his moment got ruined to build up a singular match. I don't think that's the right way. I think you need to let him breathe and be
Yeah,
viewed as the top star of the company. Because if you came out of the
he
show,
needed this moment.
yeah, like I said, if you come out of the show, to me, Wolf came across as a bigger star than he did.
Mhm.
You know, if you're just somebody new watching, like that tuned into TV, like he didn't come across like the lead ace character going forward. I actually think
Yeah.
he should have came out for Tanahashi's entrance too, just to kind of pass the torch of the title. Like I think that would have been a good idea. Like if he had come out and been like, "I will carry
Oh,
your legacy" type of
they
thing.
could have done the title switch there, the switch from the new
Yeah, that would
belt
have been
to the old
perfect.
belt.
That
Yeah.
that would have been such a good angle. That would have gotten a huge
Tanahashi
reaction.
has this briefcase, so everybody thinks that Tsuji just has this bouquet of flowers, but then Tanahashi surprises him. He has the briefcase. And in the briefcase, there is the old IWGP title. Yes.
That would have been perfect. Like, a genius idea, Strigga. It was so good, I wish I could think of it myself on there. Like, I want to go back in time and steal that idea for myself. It was so good on there. But like I said, that would have made him feel like a superstar if that had happened. Like the top star of the company, which he deserves to be.
Dylan, sadly, there is the rule that there couldn't have been anyone from the active roster. So,
I don't know if that was a rule. It's just how it worked out at the end of the day, which I think is wrong. Like, he should have been out there, and Nagata, and Goto. Like, they all should have been out there, and, you can leave Jay White at home. Like with all due respect, at the end of the day. But still, though, in all honesty, like I said, the match was great. But the thing is, I think me and you both, we already believe in Tsuji. we already know he's good and all of that. And he has charisma, and he has a great look. Where this did not give me encouraging signs going forward, because I don't like, this is the kind of stuff you do with Naito, not Okada and Tanahashi, who were the real top stars. Like, Naito was never positioned as the 1A star in New Japan. His title reigns were very short, pretty much up and down. Like, he never got a long run. Is this going to be a short title reign, like with Tsuji? Is he going to drop in Sakura Genesis? I don't think you can write it out.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. Like I said, and I think they're in a really weird spot with him now, and they need to work on that. Like, that should be their two projects going forward. For the next year, they need to have everything lined up for him and Aaron Wolf. Like, these should be your two guys you're building up to be your top stars going forward. And they didn't. I said, Wolf, success. Tsuji delivered his end of the bargain, but I don't think the booking did at all. And again, I don't even mind Jake Lee. I don't hate him getting a title shot, really. Again, I think his last run wasn't good, but maybe with this giving him something to sink his teeth into, it'll be better and more along the line of his Noah run. But still, it's just the optics of it doing it now, when he was in the middle of cutting his heroic promo, standing on top of the mountain finally. Like you said, he could have gotten the title a year and a half ago, and we would have approved of that. But he finally did it at the Dome, and then it just gets ruined. Like, what does that say about him going forward? I don't know.
Yeah. We don't know how the dynamics in this promotion are about to change with Tanahashi gone. With them now being in the position that you just laid out, that they have to get something done. Starting tomorrow, they have to get something done to have a successful Tokyo Dome show next year. Obviously, it will not be as successful as this one, but they still want to pack the building. So better get to work.
Yeah, there's no way like it could beat this year, but or even match it. But like you said, I think the hope will be that it's much better than last year's, like how it went. Like, you want to at least get in the I think their goal would be in the 30,000 plus range again, to try and get back to that, at least to kind of stabilize the Dome a little bit. They don't want to go back down to 24 and maybe even lower. But yeah, like you said, there's work to do. Like with all of these guys, Wolf, Tsuji, the booking, like there's still plenty of room for this company to grow and do better, I would say.
Yeah. Yes. So you already wanted to start talking about the rest of the matches. Let's go there. I mean, the pre-show matches, the Young Lions match was nice. Nothing special really here, even for those guys. Nothing special. The key thing that was announced is that Katsuya Murashima wants to go overseas and go to an excursion. I approve of that. The guy is great. I would like to see him in Europe. Maybe he can tour around a bit. I really see a lot in him. Then we have the television title match. El Phantasmo defended against Chris Brooks in a very DDT style match. The noise in the Tokyo Dome when they brought out the rubber band was really funny, because lots of people apparently haven't seen the spot. I mean, I'm watching DDT and Dragon Gate, and practically on every single show of both promotions, we get a rubber band spot. But of course, it's different in this giant stadium, that they did this on the stage with Bali and Aki getting his moment here in the Dome. So yeah, nice little pre-show here.
He even had Honda come out.
Honda was there, yeah.
Yeah, Dome Honda makes an
Sazadanga Machine
appearance,
was on commentary.
as he should be at the end of the day. Yeah, like you said, I mean, the matches was nothing, and this was another case of the crowd that they were not warmed up yet. I guess you could say on there that
They had
be a little
just
generous.
opened the building actually when they did the pre-show. I think they opened the doors like 30 minutes before the matches started, so
Wow, wow,
people were
okay.
still getting in. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, but they were fine. Really, nothing to write home about. It was just a trip to see Brooks in this role in the Dome in New Japan. Longtime DDT guy.
Retro Brooks.
But yeah, probably a big moment for him, even being on the pre-show. That's like one of the highlights of his career, I'm sure. Although ELP did win the match, um, and they tried. I mean, they tried. They did what they could. You had the CR2, you had the praying mantis bomb. They were both kicked out of, and it was an okay match. I would say overall, and like you said, the Young Lions. I feel like they've all kind of plateaued, to be honest, at this point. But
Good that
we'll see
Moroshima
what
leaves
happens.
now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's probably time, like for really all of them, but him for
There
sure.
were two new guys working ringside, so we could have some debuts in the next coming months.
Yeah. So I think that would have been good. Good. That'll be good.
And something that was also pointed out on Twitter. I saw that from someone I didn't remember who it was. It's funny how New Japan's partner promotion has changed from Pro Wrestling Noah to DDT now, with 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 Brooks being here, Takeshita being the champion, Mao was in the Super Junior last year.
Yep.
Funny how things change.
But they work with everybody, just not All Japan. Like it's kind of how it is right now.
Yeah, for good reason, man. Yeah, the Rambo. It's
This match sucked.
I don't know what to tell you, man.
I hated this match. I thought it was such a bad match. All in all,
Why did they have Takeshi in this match if he's just there to do practically nothing?
Well, he had the performance with his group, the Rampage. Like
Yeah,
that kind of like started off. Well, you asked why they had him. Like that's literally why. Like they did this so he could start off the show with a musical performance. Like it wasn't about the wrestling at all. And this whole match was not about wrestling. Most of the time, people were.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, most of the time people were outside the ring, like more than inside the ring. So again, I really think this is a match they really should have thought out better, considering the stakes of this show and the circumstances. Like all of these guys should have been cut. Like this should have been Zack versus Goto in a singles match. I feel like, and
Yeah.
like you could have had less time. For
I mean,
this.
you could even have done a battle royal and still have Zack and Goto face in a singles match.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean I don't know if they had the time for that, but that would have been better than this for sure.
Then cut the entrances.
That would work. Like I said, just start off the show. Maybe do the performance and have everyone enter while they're performing on there. Yeah, that could work. But I just definitely cut out all of these entrances, even if it's not a Zack and Goto match. That's what I would have wanted, but they could have done anything else except for this. I thought this was a horrible start to the show. Like so bad.
It really was. It really was.
Yeah.
They should have started the show with Shuri and Saya Kamitani, actually, because there was actually a good match. It was a.
I will say this: shout out to Hartley for getting a title in the Dome. Something I never would have dreamed.
Brush over that. Yes, and Hartley Jackson winning a championship in New Japan Pro Wrestling, dream come true for the man. And man, he said it himself. He took the most unlikely way when you look at his career.
Yes.
Coming from Australia, he was training in the New Japan dojo and had one New Japan match in 2006. Hiroki Goto and Minoru, back then part of CTU, defeated Hartley Jackson and Mikey Nichols on July 2nd, 2006. And it took until 2024 that he had his next New Japan performance. Until then, he was mostly part of 0-1 for a long time, was 0-1 world champion, but was also working on the indies, was working for Glade, for Ganbare Pro, was the Spirit of Ganbare champion, of course, went back to Australia for some time. He was always around. He was always around the scene, and now finally he gets his big moment in the Dome. That was really special.
And I mean, overall, the 6-man titles I thought that about them, but I thought they wouldn't do it considering Oiwa and Zach would have the tag title match in there. But they gave them these belts anyway. It was a nice little moment. They continue Oiwa's push, which the final of the
Good.
World Tag League baby is basically set around. That's another thing. I think, in general, a big issue with this show. I think if I could have rebooked it, I would have tried to have. First of all, I will get to the junior title stuff later, but I would have rebooked it to put over more young guys. But I mean, you did get this with Oiwa at least, so yeah, it was a terrible start to the show. Like overall, still, but I was happy that he got a belt, and good for them.
Yeah. Next up was a condensed version of a Stardom main event match with basically all the key spots, lots of kickouts, but that in 12 minutes instead of 20 or more. So Shuri, to the surprise of basically everybody, defeats Saya Kamitani and wins the Strong title now, Dylan.
Interesting that the Tokyo Sports MVP
Yeah.
goes down here in the second match of the show. It was a good match. It was a stunning result. They did announce that she's gonna. And the thing is, though, like, yes, she's taking time off, but it's like a month. It's not like she's leaving
against Starlight on February 7th. They said.
Yeah, she easily could have won this match. Like to me, like I don't know why that would preclude you from winning this at all. And this was kind of your big moment for your biggest star, and then you have her go down. I thought it was a bad decision, to be honest. And I love Shuri. Like, I like Shuri better than Kamitani as a wrestler, personally. The good news is these belts are much lesser than the red belts. It kind of makes me... the thought I had at first, before they did the injury excuse or whatever, was that perhaps New Japan kind of controls these belts. Like, they're not Stardom belts. They're both New Japan belts. The IWGP title and the Strong title. And perhaps this was their call more than thinking about Stardom, perhaps. Yeah. That was my first thought, and I still don't doubt that. To be honest, I still kind of think that's true. And Shuri is a great wrestler. Like, super legit, and everyone loves her as they should. But, I mean, this win, to me, in the world of Stardom, not no pun intended for the red belt, this win means Shuri is your top person now, like your top babyface. Like, but the evidence is not there that they actually want to use her that way in her.
No, she was in the opening match at Queendom.
Yeah, like that's the thing. So you're in this weird dichotomy right now. Like, this booking has created chaos, like in the promotion all of a sudden. And so it's such a strange decision. Again, I really think there must have been some kind of external factor that caused this.
Maybe, because, like you said, these are two belts that New Japan controls, and one of them is specifically a belt that they use in America. So maybe it is about who they can or who they want to send over to America.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Like, I personally think that. Because this doesn't make logical sense in the Stardom booking pattern. At the end of the day, if she had lost at Dream Queendom, like, this would have made a lot more sense. At the end of the day, but that didn't happen. She won. I mean, I don't know if you saw that, but she won. She delivers good in the match. It was a good match for the time they got. I think the thing is, though, I also think there is an emotional factor where we are all rooting for this to be good. Like, because we know this kind of sucks that they're in the second match on the card. The title should be treated with more respect because she is the MVP of the entire, scene, and probably, like, arguably the top star, whether you're a man or a woman in Japanese wrestling right now.
And for this match, I thought the entrances were chosen wisely because it once again displayed how much of a star Saya Kamitani is. The entrance on this stage, that is even, of course, bigger than the stage that she had on Queendom, was magnificent. And once again, like with Okada and Tanahashi, they chose the black and white gear to tell the difference between the two. So that was done really well.
Yeah, and I think the thing is with Kamitani, every entrance of hers is a big entrance. Like, just like her look alone, you're immediately gonna like, that's eye catching right away. Like, her gear is top tier. Her entrance is great. Her swag is amazing. She is somebody that is just exudes star power more than any. That's why she's where she's at. So yeah, like any entrance of hers is automatically one of the biggest entrances on the show, just with how she carries herself as such a superstar. And the match, I mean, it went about as good as we could have hoped for. I would say, like, this was a good match. I wouldn't say it's like super memorable. Like, it doesn't touch the matches that match that she had on Dream Queendom, of course, but that was the main event, and this was the second match. But if anything,
7.44 as we're talking right now.
and I think this is what we would have hoped for. If you could get 12 minutes, then that was the best and most optimistic prediction, I would say, and they delivered that. It's still less than I think they should get, but it's also good for their low standards that they've had in the past.
Yes.
And it was probably like if you think about it, it was like the best match on the undercard. I would say, like up until the big three,
by far.
Yeah, like it was pretty easily the standout match, I would say.
Yeah, I mean the 10-man tag that followed was pretty fun. I did not get at all why Andrade was in the match.
He's the investor.
Yes.
He bought this whole group.
Yeah. So he doesn't have to work. That's
yes. I think that may be something to play into. That may be a shoot, Strigga. That's not a storyline you're talking about. Like, try to get your storylines together here.
And another thing about Jake Lee, where I think a issue lies, is that this is the second time now that they have not explained why the guy turned to the group that he turned to.
Yes. Yeah, and he was in the Bullet Club like before he was in, and he just shows up against him. How did this come about, Strigga? Like, nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
That's how can they explain it when they don't know? Like, at the end of the day,
yes.
Like that's the thing. What this was is they needed a spot for him. And this was the one that was open, and so they plugged him here, and it could have been, it could have easily been Akira in this spot. I mean, He came out after the match.
Why was he wearing a mask if he didn't do anything?
I wasn't into this match or anything that came after it personally. Like, I also didn't like Hiromu taking the fall after being like GHC champion, days prior. I didn't really gain anything from this match. I honestly thought the way this match was built up, they had made it seem like Callum was going to be the focus of this group coming in there, that this match was probably going to be a vehicle to boost him. So, somebody had even predicted Callum was going to win the New Japan Cup in my prediction show. And now with this, it's like
they want him to be a guy, but
yeah, but then they say no, we actually don't. We want Jake Lee to be the guy of the group, like when it comes time to it, and I just don't understand that. Again, it's not about Jake, it's how they built up like everything going on here. And now where does this group go? Where does Bullet Club grow? I thought maybe we might have some kind of maybe like goodbye moment for the Bullet Club, because everybody's rumored and it looks like they're going to stay as they always do when these rumors come about. So we didn't really get anything from this match. It was just a vehicle for Jake to return and maybe Akira to return, although it was goofy. And now United Empire is back and stronger again. I mean, you got Andrade, Jake, Hinare, and Akira all returning. So now this group is basically in full swing again. Like, is this going to be a big Empire year of New Japan? Because I don't know if they should be a top level act for this company, like a focus. But it's kind of looking that way. Like when you think about how this played out and where they're going.
At least they're being positioned like that, and I could easily see. Callum and Great Khan challenge for the tag title very soon too.
Yeah, former champions. They have a claim.
Hinare for the Never title. I think Hinare and Aaron Wolf would be a good matchup.
Yeah, totally. A great stylistic matchup, I would say.
Yep.
And Andrade, we don't know. At the end of the day.
We don't know.
Yeah. And Akira could do something in the junior division. It felt like, I mean, like the last couple, like 2 years ago, it felt like he was ready to be a main junior character. Things kind of, even last year, I mean, they ended with once TJP left, I feel like that he's kind of been in limbo. And maybe they're going to try and build it. No, he shouldn't be. Well, is anybody not in limbo in the junior division?
No, and we could as well talk about the final match that we've not talked about here for good reason.
Yes, for good reason, exactly.
The junior fiasco, Dylan. We had this number one contendership match for for Doki's title. In storyline, Doki didn't wrestle on the show because he didn't want to overshadow Hiroshi Tanahashi. Was stupid reasoning, even in storyline.
Guaranteed that was like a made up. Like that just came up on the fly. Like he made up.
Yeah.
They didn't tell him to say like, oh, I didn't want to shadow him. I'm a big star.
So in the end, Desperado defeats Kosei Fujita, Sho, and Taiji Ishimori, but only after all of their tag team partners interfered, and we had our impromptu junior heavyweight tag team title four-way that we always get at Wrestle Kingdom. Dude, I don't even know what to say about this.
This was a disaster. Like to me, this was even worse than the Rambo. Like, and they were both bad. Don't get me wrong. But these matches. Another thing, like again, it's totally unbeknownst to this match or anything like that. But if you were going to do this, what reasons would you have? Okay, you don't want to overshadow, Tanahashi. You don't want to use the junior title on the show. Why isn't that on New Year's Dash then?
I'm still clueless on when this match is supposed to happen.
Nobody knows. They don't know, STRIGGA. Like it's just like the other thing. They don't even know. So how can we know? But I just know what I do know is this division is in the toilet. Like this is the worst. This is the worst period of the junior title in the history of this company. Like unquestionably, in my opinion. And actually, this match not only was the match terrible, the worst, least interesting person won. Like like who wants to see Despy go for another junior title?
I mean, I understand that they probably want to end the story between him and Doki, but I have no energy to invest in that anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
After a year.
Yeah, and after the ridiculous turn for Doki and everything. I think, again, this match was terrible. We don't even need to talk about it. Like, everything about it sucked, and it was the worst match on the show, to me, pretty clearly. I think, and a lot of people said that, like, in the replies, and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
But I think if I could have gone back and rebooked this whole show, first of all, the junior title would have been on it. Secondly, the tag titles would have been on it. And thirdly, I would have had it to where Umino and Uemura was a part of the winning six-man team. I would have had the Knockout Brothers retain.
Yep.
And I would have had Kosei win the IWGP title. And I would have ended a shot with Tsuji, Kosei, the brothers, and Uemura and Umino as all with gold. That's how this show should have ended, like where we're at. And instead, we're ending with most of the titles not even being defended. Secondly, you've got TMDK as the six-man champions, like two veterans. You get Oiwa, that's something. And then Tsuji playing second fiddle to Jake Lee. That's not how this show should have gone, STRIGGA. Like, at the end of the day, like, I don't know what they think they're doing. What I think it shows is they have not learned much over these struggles they've had over the years. No. And I feel like we're in for a really rough year. And yes, this show was good, and I don't want to rain on everybody's parade. And yes, the matches worked. Like, the big three matches that needed to work all worked. But as a show, the cracks are there. Like, they're showing you where they are. And I just really feel like this year is not going to be a good one the way we started off.
Yeah, I can see that too. The best possible scenario that I can imagine is that they actually try and throw things against the wall and look at what sticks. But in order to do so, they actually have to rely on certain guys. And that is where they struggle. They just don't rely on these guys. They sometimes push someone to a certain degree, but then take him back again. Like I said at the beginning with the Rambo, all of the main event scene here is in the opening match. All of the main event scene of last year is in the opening match. You said about Newman, it seemed that they wanted to focus on him, but they just don't. We have Kosei Fujita. It seemed like it was his moment, but they just didn't do it. So they always hold back on these guys, and this is the year where they actually have to do that. And if they
Yeah.
don't, I agree. If they don't, they're not only in for a rough year, they could be in for a rough stretch of years.
And you're totally right about that. Like there's consequences to this show and the follow up to it that are going to span years, like not just months. At the end of the day, you're totally right. If they blow this, if we're here a year from now and things are in the same place they are, and they've done weird stuff with the title, if Suji's run ends early, and Aaron Wolf has been in a never purgatory, maybe not improved. The junior title's still on Desperado once again, heading into the Dome, and nothing interesting's happened with that.
Well, I want to say if next year's Dome Junior Heavyweight title match is Desperado versus Kosei Fujita, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, if that's finally Kosei's big moment, yeah, that would be good. And I think him winning the title is better than winning the number one contenders match, to be fair. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I just think that the show it was I thought this was an actively bad show until the final three matches, honestly. And I was really surprised that they took this, like, because again, for a lot of people, this is their first exposure to this company, and you watched hours of entrances, seemingly, and some terrible matches,
That is correct, but you know how it is in wrestling, that if you get a great main event, or a great stretch of matches at the end of the show, that can overshadow a show that can overpaint a show that wasn't really good. When we take, for example, the Noah show on January 1st, there was really
that was a bad show with a bad main event.
Exactly. There was this one match, the Junior title match between Hiroshi Tanahashi and Amaxa, that was really great, but everything else really didn't do anything. All was actively bad, and so the fans ended up with a bad main event, and so the show was rated badly.
And the thing is, the vibes for the show were immaculate because the main event was so emotionally strong.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not denying that. And even me, by the end, I was jazzed up. I was ready to go with you right then and there. And I hadn't slept at all. Like in American time, it was like 5:30, 6 o'clock. We took a little bit of a nap a piece to kind of fire for the show.
Yeah, you longer than I because for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Like you said, you kind of woke up in the morning to watch it in the European zone.
I got up at 7 a.m.
That's still pretty early, to be fair.
But it was fine.
But yeah, I mean that's kind of normal, right, for a school, like a school level job.
Yep.
But yeah, so like I was super happy, like with the main event, like at the end of the day, and the ceremony and all that. That was amazing. Like that's something we'll never forget, and that's really the main thing from these shows. And like you said, even the previous two matches turned it around a bit. I really think the switch was flipped when Aaron Wolf walked out of that, onto the stage. Like I think the whole show took a turn. You had the Jake Lee. I was very regrettable that they interrupted Suji's promo like that. But the main event was a legendary match. I honestly think this is going to go down as one of the most memorable and one of the best Wrestle Kingdom main events of all time. Like, wow, that's another question we didn't even talk about. Where would you rank this in terms of main events for Wrestle Kingdom? And the Tanahashi, there's so many layers to this match here. Like where does it rank in the Tanahashi Okada series? Where does it rank in the Wrestle Kingdom main events?
So it ranks higher than their last couple of matches.
Oh, for sure. Like this blew away last year's version.
Even the last ones that they had.
Yeah.
It ranks higher than those. From an emotional standpoint, of course, nothing touches this one.
That might be number one in terms of emotions, yeah.
Yeah, like I said before, when it comes to actual wrestling, I would say it ranks lower than the ones that we had around 2014.
And I think most people kind of consider that the peak of their feud.
That's what I said earlier, yeah, the physical peak.
Yeah. And I think most people would argue that the Invasion Attack match was the one that like that's the one that always comes up as like one of the best matches. That was 2013. It's amazing to think of how long ago that was when you think about that. Like 13 years have passed since that match.
No.
I mean, time waits for no man, STRIGGA. At the end of the day, it's a beautiful thing, even when it's tragic sometimes. I also loved their some of my favorite matches of theirs were actually the G1 draws, and they had multiple of those. It felt like that was their gimmick in G1s. They would always go to the time limit draw overall, and I really enjoyed those matches. I thought they were really well done and strong. I thought the Wrestle Kingdom 9 match they had was one of their absolute strongest as well. That's a very memorable Wrestle Kingdom main event for me. On top of it,
Yeah, that's
uh,
right. That's right. Their 30-minute time limit draw on the G1 is always underrated. We always say that.
Yeah, I just said that. Like, like that. Those were some of my favorite matches.
Yeah,
They had
yeah.
multiple time limit draws, and they were all really good. Overall,
In terms of
especially the first one.
Wrestle Kingdom main events, I would also consider this a top 5 main event.
I think so too. Like, honestly, like I really do. And I think and like look at the reaction again. The 8.80 rating for this. Like I said, if you cut this show, if let's say pretend this match wasn't on the card, a terrible fate, we would all live with that. And this show ended with Jake dropping Suji. This would get like a 4 or 5 out of 10 rating.
That was my point about which is why I brought up the Noah show.
Yeah. No, you were totally right about the main event bringing so much. Like I said, the Noah show sucked with or without the main event. I would say, but like this was saved by an incredible main event that again, like you said, I think it does have to be considered one of the greatest ever. I mean, this compare it to last year's main event.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like a world of difference.
It's not even the same sport.
Yeah, you're totally right. Even the year before that was Sonata in the main event. That wasn't good either.
No.
With him and Naito. See, this is what I'm saying. These shows have been rough for a while now, and we finally got a show that felt like a real Wrestle Kingdom, and mainly a main event that felt like a Wrestle Kingdom main event. And then you had the 2-night main events. Don't worry about those really. You had Okada and Jay in the main event. None of those delivered to any big extent. Again, the Okada Tanahashi match from 2015 from Wrestle Kingdom 9. Again, I think that's one that stands out to me as among the best.
I think like I said before, the Naito and Okada matches also stand out.
That was the thing is, it's funny because that match kind of has a bad reputation, but it actually was a great match. Honestly, like I don't agree with
the one where Okada won and the one where Naito won. Both matches were actually outstanding.
Yeah, I thought the Okada win was a better match, but Naito winning was the better moment. If that makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
In there, yeah. You had Tanahashi and Omega. I didn't love that match. I know a lot of people really vibe with that a lot. I thought it was like a fine main event, and the effort was there, but that's not a classic match in my personal opinion. Like I think both men have had better matches with other opponents. Like again, I think I'm probably in a little bit of a minority on that. I think a lot of people have good memories of that. Okada Omega, I think, is what a lot of people would point to.
Sure.
In the main event. Like that was a really strong match. Again, it wasn't my favorite, but I did think that was a strong match for sure. I mean, you also had, remember, not just okay. So which one did you like before this? The Wrestle Kingdom 9 main event where Tanahashi won, or the Wrestle Kingdom 10 main event where Okada won?
I think the one where Okada won.
Okay. Yeah, because the Tanahashi one's standing out more, but I haven't seen them in a while. Remember, we're talking 10 years ago at this point. So if I'd watched that again, maybe I would agree with you. But in my mind, the memory of Okada crying and the amazing matches they had.
It was an amazing visual. I couldn't tell you right now because it's so long ago.
Exactly. So we're kind of going off of our heart. It's not an official list. We're just spitballing here a little bit. What about Nakamura and Tanahashi, where they won the vote? Remember that? Over Okada and Naito in the main event.
Remember that. Was it 7?
I think that was 8. That was right before the Wrestle Kingdom 9.
I didn't think that was as outstanding.
Yeah. I mean, it was. Matches. Yeah. The Okada matches were better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. At the end of the day, even 7, like the first Tanahashi win, I think the second Tanahashi win was more memorable than the first one to me. But also, again, 7 was a long time ago as well. If we watched them all in order, maybe we would have a more
Maybe.
definitive reaction. But yeah, the Nakamura match, that was memorable because of the voting and this controversy surrounding it. You had man, look at all these Tanahashi main events in the Dome. We're going through, like, almost all of them are there. Tanahashi and Suzuki. That was a big match at the time.
Yeah. Was one of the
It
bigger main events.
It wasn't as good as their King of Pro Wrestling match, though.
Nope.
That was really the start of everything for New Japan Worldwide, was that match. Like Suzuki and Tanahashi in King of Pro Wrestling. In terms of the worldwide audience, that's the one that really broke out. But I don't think the Dome match holds up to that.
No.
You had Tanahashi Kojima, which was a huge win for Tanahashi's career.
Yeah, it was 2010, right? No, 2010 was Nakamura and Takayama.
Yeah. 2011 overall. But yeah, that was a huge moment because Kojima had just returned from All Japan to win the G1 the year prior. And he got the big push, and then Tanahashi dethroned him.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match.
It wasn't as big as these Okada matches we talked about, though. I would say are great. Yeah, you mentioned Nakamura and Takayama. That was cool. Like, I like that. I mean, I don't know how well known this is now, but I've always said I actually think this run of Nakamura is better than his more famous one, like the Black Savior, like strong style run that he had. I really loved all that. Yeah, talking shit to Inoki.
We didn't even talk about that when we talked about the match.
Takeshita had the armband on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Takeshita had that armband, and he said it on the press conference later. It didn't really play into the match. It was just a nice gesture to have Nakamura represented in some form on the show.
And it's kind of like he wasn't there, but his spirit was kind of there between Takeshita and Tanahashi. They tried to make up for it the best they could, even though it was a bad situation. Other main events, you had Tanahashi and Muto, which I was really down. This was like right when I started watching, and I was super down on Muto. Like, I remember when he beat Goto after Goto won the G1 the year prior. Then I was
it was a big moment for Tanahashi, but not a great match.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, yeah, and that's the same thing with the Kojima one. The moment is kind of bigger than the match itself. Then you had Nakamura and Tanahashi, who made event at the Dome in Wrestle Kingdom 2. I think that the first one was better than the fan vote one, actually, in terms of a match quality.
Agree.
Yeah. And the first one was just like a showcase type of match. Because remember, Wrestle Kingdom at the time was like a new concept when they came in, where they had all the companies working together. Like, that was originally like Wrestle Kingdom's concept. You had a bunch of promotional stuff. I remember Kawada and Nakamura on that show. You had the 10th match between Suzuki and Nagata. Their rivalry continued on there. So that's when Suzuki was like in All Japan. So you had a bunch of promotional stuff, and then the main event was Muto and Shono teaming up against Tenkozy. So, like, obviously not a big match. So, yeah, Wrestle Kingdom wise, we just went through basically the whole list of the main events, and I think this one has to be ranked up there. Yeah.
Yeah, this holds up. This completely holds up against all these others.
Yeah, totally agree. Like, at the very least, it should be on the S tier. Again, I don't know if I would say it's my number one favorite, but I do think it's on that level. If you said this was your favorite, especially with recency bias kind of heavily in effect right now, the day of the show, I definitely couldn't argue with it. I thought it was a classic match that'll be remembered for many, many years to come.
Yes, and that is, I think, some great final words for our look back at Wrestle Kingdom 20. Again, a show that will set the stage for New Japan Pro Wrestling and Japanese Pro Wrestling as a whole in 2026. Where will we go from now? We will find out very soon as New Japan Pro Wrestling and all the other companies, of course, roll on, Dylan.
Let me tell you where they're going to go, Strigga. America. Because they did announce that the G1 opening show is back in Chicago. We kind of glossed over this on the show, but they announced they're going to do a show in America with the G1, and Despy Invitational is coming to Las Vegas.
It was so funny how Desperado was just in the ring. He left and they played a video to announce his very own show. What the fuck?
Well, I guess they figured, like, if we play Deathmatch Invitational before, that everyone will think Despy is going to win, so we had to keep it a surprise.
Yeah, but why couldn't he announce it himself?
He should have. Like, he totally should have. Like, you're completely right. I don't know why. And because he's a junior, the juniors don't count in New Japan.
So
I think
They are not only coming to America, but they are going to the Now Arena, a 10,000 seat building in America, in Chicago.
I'm sure. I mean, that's AEW's kind of home turf, like in Chicago.
It is.
Yeah, like one of their cities they run the most. There was that year stretch where they were there all the time. It felt like. So it seems like that might play a role in this. Like, I don't know if there's some kind of deal cut with the building, maybe that helps things, or maybe AEW like helped finance that for some reason.
They're gonna have
I don't know.
2 or 3 AEW guys in the tournament.
I think so. Like at least one. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like a guy with a lot of history.
Huh?
You know, and yeah, like I think at least one guy. I mean, they listen. If you look at the AEW roster, they have a ton of people that have New Japan ties that could be in the tournament if they so chose. Fletcher could be in there.
I was just going to name drop him. I was just going to say Moxley, Fletcher. Who could be a third guy? Really, anyone actually?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the whole roster is available. I would say for this. So I think that's going to be. I think the fact that it's in Chicago kind of symbolizes that it will be a major name in play that they probably have discussed. So you know, but still though, I don't know if this is the right call for New Japan.
Yeah.
Even in their kind of, it wasn't quite their peak run, but it was in the era where they went to Dallas for night one. Yeah. That was a huge bust, like at the time, and now in a colder period. How is Chicago gonna take to the G1 night one now? Like, is that gonna be a successful show? Because if it is, then it's the right call. Like with the exchange rates and the yen and all that stuff, that's been talked about to death. But I just don't know. Their shows recently was strong, and the America shows, the USA shows, they haven't exactly been doing gangbusters business. You know, so we'll have to see how it goes. But that did get announced, and that seems like that's going to be a big part of this year too. I would say that kind of symbolizes that they're going to really push hard in America for 2026 and try to get as much as they can out of that. I don't know if that, again, is that the right call for where they're at as a company? I don't think so. My gut is telling me no. But if it does work out, it's a gamble that if it pays off, it'll be a big win. So I can get why they're doing it. I don't think now's the right time for it, personally.
Yeah. They should really be focusing on their home turf because they have enough rebuilding to do in Japan.
Yeah, their foundation isn't solid right now. You know, like this is a luxury move. Like when you're winning big at home, like they were before. I don't know if it's the right call when your foundation is so shaky. Which again, this show did not give me confidence about this upcoming year. I'm sorry on that. But obviously, with the main event being what is, like we said, it'll be remembered forever as a classic, and that's why all the fans are loving it, giving it huge ratings, and the show itself. Who is really? Let's face it. Yes, the undercard sucked. I think even if you're honest about it, I think most people would agree with that. But at the end of the day, who left this show unsatisfied?
Don't think anybody.
Yeah, it's basically impossible. So you know, it's still a win of a show. Yeah, even with the criticisms, which I still think are valid, but ultimately, for tonight, they won big, and we got a good Wrestle Kingdom.
Absolutely. So this brings us to the end of our show right now, because there's nothing more to say about it from our standpoint right now. So Dylan, it was great to talk about Wrestle Kingdom with you. It was great to go in history with you. That was a great
that was fun.
Traveling back moment to go back to all the old Wrestle Kingdoms. Great stuff. And I hope you all enjoyed this show, looking back at Wrestle Kingdom as it happened just today. So I want to thank you all for listening, and goodbye.
Sayonara.